Sherry Elizabeth Levitt was age 47 at the time of her disappearance. She was a cosmetologist at a local salon and was a single mother, described as being very close to her daughter, Suzanne Elizabeth "Susie" Streeter. Streeter was 19 years old. Suzanne Streeter graduated together with Stacy Kathleen McCall, who was the age of 18. They were last seen at around 2 a.m. on June 7th, when they were leaving the last of the few graduation parties they had attended that evening. The pair planned to spend the night at their friend Janelle Kirby's house, but when they decided Kirby's house was too crowded, they instead left to go to Streeter's, and thus Levitt's home, at 1717 East Delmar Street, to retire for the night. It is assumed they arrived because their clothing, jewelry, purses, and vehicles were all present at the house the next day. Levitt was last heard from at approximately 11:15 p.m. on June 6th, when she spoke with a friend on the phone. The following day, around 9 a.m., Janelle Kirby and her boyfriend visited the house after Streeter and McCall failed to show up at her home. They had planned to spend the day at a water park and were supposed to leave from Kirby's residence. Upon arriving, Kirby found the home's front door unlocked and entered the home, but found no sight of Streeter, McCall, or Levitt. Each of these women's cars were parked outside. She also reported to police that the glass lamp shade on the porch light was shattered, though the light bulb itself was left intact. Kirby's boyfriend innocently helped her sweep the broken glass off the porch, which police later determined may have destroyed potential evidence. Inside the house, Kirby found Levitt and Streeter's dog, a Yorkshire Terrier named Cinnamon, who appeared agitated. While inside, Kirby also answered a strange and disturbing call from an unidentified male who made sexual innuendos. She hung up and immediately received another call of a sexual nature, again hanging up the phone. Several hours later, McCall's mother, Janice, also visited the house after failed attempts to reach her daughter by phone. Inside, she noticed all three women's purses were sitting on the floor of the living room, and also saw her daughter's clothing neatly folded from the night before. Levitt and Streeter's cigarettes were also left inside the house. Janice frantically called police from the home's telephone to report the three women missing. After placing the call, while checking the phone's answering machine, she listened to a strange message, but it was inadvertently erased from the tape. Police were very interested in the call and believed it may have contained a clue. They also did not believe it was connected to the prank calls Kirby received. McCall's parents contacted police in reference to their daughter's disappearance from Levitt's home more than 16 hours after the women were last seen, and other worried friends and family called and visited the home the following day. Police later estimated that the crime scene had been corrupted by 10 to 20 people who visited Levitt's house. Upon the officers' arrival, the scene showed no signs of a struggle, except for a shattered porch light. Police also noted Levitt's bed had been slept in. All personal property was left behind, including purses, money, cars, keys, cigarettes, and the family dog. On December 31st, 1992, a man called the America's Most Wanted hotline with information about the women's disappearances, but the call was disconnected when the switchboard operator attempted to link up with Springfield investigators. Police said the caller had prime knowledge of the abductions and publicly appealed for the man to contact them, but he never did. Levitt and Streeter were declared legally dead in 1997. However, their case files are still officially filed under missing. Investigators received a tip that the women's bodies were buried in the foundations of the south parking garage at Cox Hospital. In 2007, crime reporter Kathy Baird invited Rick Norland, a mechanical engineer, to scan a corner of a parking garage with ground-penetrating radar. Norland found 3 anomalies, roughly the same size, that he said were consistent with a gravesite location. 2 of the anomalies were parallel, and the other was perpendicular. Springfield Police Department spokesperson Lisa Cox said that the person who reported the tip, quote, provided no evidence or logical reasoning behind the theory at that time or since then, end quote. She also said the parking garage began construction in September 1993, over a year after the disappearances. Quote, digging up the area and subsequently reconstructing the structure would be extremely costly, and without any reasonable belief that the bodies could be located there, it is illogical to do so, and for those reasons SBD does not intend to. Investigators have determined this lead to not be credible, end quote. Daryl Moore, a former assistant of the Greene County Prosecutor's Office, said the tip came from someone who either claimed to be a psychic or claimed to have a dream or visions about the case. Dustin Rekla was a former boyfriend of Susie Streeter. He broke into a Springfield mausoleum a few months before the women vanished and stole $30 worth of gold fillings from a skull. Police looked at Rekla because Streeter had given investigators a statement about a mausoleum break-in and was rumored to be a probable witness against Rekla in court. Rekla and his two friends that helped in the mausoleum robbery were known to be together in the area the night the women went missing. In 1997, Robert Craig Cox, imprisoned in Texas as a convicted kidnapper and robber and the suspect in a Florida murder, told journalists that he knew the 3 women had been murdered and buried and claimed their bodies would never be recovered. In 1992, Cox had been living in Springfield and, when interviewed, had told investigators that he was with his girlfriend at church the morning after the women disappeared, which she corroborated. However, she later recanted her statement and said that Cox had asked her to say that. Cox also stated that he was at the home of his parents the night of the disappearance, and they confirmed that alibi. Authorities were uncertain if Cox was involved in the case, or if he was seeking recognition for the alleged murders by issuing false statements. Cox stated to the authorities and journalists he would disclose what happened to the 3 women after his mother died. The case remains unsolved as of 2023, in spite of upward of 5,000 tips from the public. In June 1997, a bench was dedicated to the women inside the victims' memorial garden in Springfield's Phelps Grove Park. The case has been featured on shows such as 48 Hours and America's Most Wanted.